Hi, everyone. Welcome back to the Cosplay Crunch. Each week we gather to talk all things cosplay and conventions, from personal experiences, useful tips and advice, horror stories and hot takes, and sometimes the latest news and drama. We have it all. I am your host, Zavich Cosplay, and this episode we are joined by a beautiful beachy goddess all the way from Trinidad and Tobago. Please welcome Panterona Cosplay. Welcome, babe.
Hey, what's up? What's up? I haven't seen you in so long.
I know. I feel like months is still too long. Well, it's been a half a year at this point.
It is. Like, I mean, we talk a lot, like, we see each other, like, online, but, like, in person, it was, like, since, like, what, July?
July.
Was it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I know. I was like, part of me was like crossing my fingers and holding out my breath that you might go to home at, but I know that is completely contingent upon where you can go because you're not close. So
I know I'm far away from everybody. But the funny thing is, people think I'm American, though. I don't know why.
have they
Yeah,
heard
I
you
know.
speak?
Listen, child. That's why I've started doing a lot more like voiceover videos and stuff online, because I'm like, I think y'all need to hear what's happening
Oh my
because I
God.
am not of the US of A.
Well, exactly. And we're going to get all into your cosplay beginnings. But before we start, I said
Okay.
that we had to address this before we started the call. Your microphone right now. So for anyone that's not like visually watching this, if you're listening on Spotify or wherever, Panterona has this microphone and it looks like it came from like 1920. And I was straight up like, when she joined, I was like, what the hell do you have in your hand? Explain this for them.
So what had happened was, right, I needed to do like a Jessica Rabbit shoot, and we had this lovely idea, like, let's get like a vintage microphone. So we went onto Amazon, bought the microphone, did the photo shoot and stuff, and then afterwards I was like, I need a microphone for this podcast. Dun dun dun, it's actually operational. So
When did you do this photo shoot? Like, how long ago was this?
years ago.
You started rummaging through your like closet.
Yes. And my brother brings it out, has cobwebs and stuff on it, and I was like, and he was like, yeah, it's like a directional microphone, so you have to speak directly into it. And I was like, this is perfect because I have all kinds of noises going on in the background here. So I was like, it was meant to be. It was meant to be.
That is so funny. It's fortuitous. It's
Yes.
predestined. That's so
Yes,
hilarious. You look
serendipitous,
very,
everything.
very gorgeous holding this microphone. I mean, just in general, but with this microphone, it's really accentuating.
It adds a bit of glam.
I'm kind of jealous. It's giving a fantasy that like I wish I had. No one else is gonna have as beautiful as microphone on this podcast. Trust, like you're gonna win a trophy for that. I'm gonna like.
They're gonna try.
They're
gonna try. But
no one could ever
the
match.
standard has been set. The standard.
High. Okay, so we're gonna go first. Okay. Like we start most of these podcasts with your cosplay beginnings. So how did you find cosplay? Like, where was your first convention? How did you get into dressing up? All of that.
Okay, so every time I tell this story, I start by saying that the P in Panterona initially stands for petty, because pettiness is what got me into cosplay.
Pettiness and spite.
Pettiness, spite. That's what it was. So we had a convention here in Trinidad and Tobago called Anime City. This was like in the early 2000s, right? And I never wanted to cosplay at all, actually. So I used to go to the convention. I think they probably had like one or two, and at the time, the big anime was Samurai X, Rurouni Kenshin, and that was my favorite thing in the world, right? So I go to the anime convention, and someone had the audacity, the sheer unmitigated gall, to cosplay my favorite character, and I didn't like it.
You wait. Elaborate on that. We have to break down the psychology of this. Why were you so hot and bothered by the fact that someone was cosplaying your favorite character?
The wig, honey, it was fried. Okay, the wig was fried. The sword was a disaster. The whole thing was a hot mess to me at the time. I did not like it. All right, and I'm one of those people who I'm like, you know what? I'm not just gonna say I don't like this. I'm going to show you how. Okay, this is supposed to be done. I was so upset. I was actually, I don't know if you could see it now. If I move
that like wall behind you.
Yeah, no, okay, there's like a wig behind me. I was doing cleaning and I found the wig that I did. That wig is 20 years old. I found it. It's literally right behind. You can't see it because it's like right behind here. But I found the wig that I did. Because back then we didn't have colored wigs or anything. So I ended up buying human hair tracks, bleaching it, and then like dye. It was a balayage, everything, honey. Okay.
This was your first wig?
Yes.
This is
I
so evil.
I'm extra. I'm extra. I'm just naturally an extra person.
Wait,
So
so
I
you
walked
literally had human hair for your first
Mhm.
wig?
Yes. Yes, I did. Yes, I did. And I walked into the convention, and these poor people, they don't know anything about hair. So they're looking at me like, "How did you do that?" And I was like, "You stay there and wonder." Mhm.
Wait,
Mhm.
so you went back the following year, or like how?
Yeah. Yeah, 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 yeah. Oh, yes. Oh, yes.
So you
Oh,
literally
yes.
saw, you
Yes.
went, you
Yes.
saw, you left, you gathered yourself, you
Yes.
you made a human hair wig. Did you sew the costume yourself too?
My mom helped me sew it because at that point in time, I didn't know how to sew very well by myself, and my mom was a seamstress. So that's where I learned how to sew. That's how the whole thing started. And once I put the costume on and everything, my dad also helped me make the swords because my dad he so all these cupboards, my dad did my cupboards. He did everything. So he does contracting. He builds houses. Like that's what he does. So he helped me make like these authentic wooden swords with like the sheath made out of PVC and everything. I had my human hair wig. I had my like yeah, fabrics, everything. These slippers, I actually made those like out of banana husk things. Yeah.
So the Panterona household rallied, and they were like, we're gonna do you up, bitch, and you're gonna go out there next year, and you're gonna let them have it."
Yes, let them have cake, like literally. So I went out, I did it, and to be quite honest, like the experience of cosplaying, because at that time, everybody was cosplaying from that show in particular as well. So we could have done like group stuff. It was so much fun, and I completely forgot about like the pettiness in that moment, and I was like, you know what? This is actually cool. Like, I want to keep doing this. And I was hooked. Like, ever since then, I was hooked.
I love that. So that
Yeah.
first convention, what did you say it was called?
It was called Anime City.
Does that exist anymore or no?
No.
Where was it? Was it in Port of Spain or was it somewhere else?
Um, it was in the okay. So I actually run a convention now. It's where we host that convention now at a venue called the Center of Excellence. So everything has kind of come around full circle in my life.
Oh, and we're gonna talk all about your convention. Trust, that's a
Yes.
whole thing. But so, what city is that in? Look, I told you before this. I have my map open. I have
Okay.
Google Maps open on the other monitor, and I am looking at your country, so I
Okay.
can
Okay. Okay.
have.
So technically, we have two cities: Port of Spain and San Fernando. Right. So
Okay.
Port of Spain is in the north and San Fernando is in the south. And then we have like a kind of, I don't know, is Arima a city or a borough? I'm not quite sure. Those are the three major things. And the convention is in the north between Port of Spain and Arima. So basically going west to east,
In
somewhere
Tuna
along there.
Puna.
Yes, look at you.
Look at
Look
me,
at
bitch! I have a
you.
map. Oh my god, that's so funny. Wait, okay, so you're kind of like centrally located in terms of like being in Trinidad, like with all the major population centers. So it's like kind
Yes.
of accessible
Yes.
for a lot of people to get to the convention.
Yes. Yes. Yes.
Okay.
It's the only convention center that could actually house the convention in the country actually. So,
Oh, interesting.
oh
Okay.
yes.
No, we're gonna get all to that too. But okay, I want to know about also like after your first cosplay, did you was that your annual convention or did you go to any other conventions in the country or did you venture like I guess what was your frequency of convention going as you started?
So that's a good question. Ours was a bit odd. So at that time, Anime City was like the convention, right? And then what tended to happen was there were like these little, like small other events. So there was like an event called like Comic Fest, and that was held with like the comic collectors of Trinidad and Tobago. So the people who basically collect comics, and they would rent out like a school and be like doing like a little meetup and stuff there. But Anime City was like the major one, and when they realized they had the market like in a chokehold, they started having more than one a year, and they would call those point fives. So each anime city had a number child. So Anime City 1, Anime City 2, and then all of a sudden you just had Anime City 2.5, Anime City 3. I was like, what is happening?
They were like, we can make more money. We can make more money from
Yes.
this.
Yes. So over time, we started having like multiples for the year, probably like two, I would say 2 to 3 for the year, depending.
Gotcha. So you were going to those, and then
Yeah.
what was like the first convention you went to that was outside of Trinidad?
Ooh,
You
I
remember?
think because I used to live in England, so I think it would have been London Film and Comic Con or MCM, one
Wait,
of those.
when did you move to London, or when did you move to England? Like what?
I did university. I studied in Warwick University. So yeah, right after high school, was it you call it high school? Yeah, right after high school,
Yeah.
yeah, to college. Yeah, I went right after high school. I moved to England, and that's where I lived for a bit,
And did you go to? And you
studying.
went to conventions there? You went to MCM.
Yeah, I went to MCM. I went to London Film and Comic Con. I went to KitaCon. Like, yeah, whatever. I think I went to all of them
Oh
at
my
some
god.
point.
Were you
Yeah.
cosplaying? Were you making cosplays there as well?
Yes and no. Like while I was, because I did law, that is not easy, child.
Uh,
So when I was doing law, I really was not that into cosplay. Like I took kind of like, I wouldn't say like a hiatus, because I was still like I was still like go to things every once in a while, and I'll
sure.
still watch anime and stuff, and I was still a part of like the Japanese society and stuff in school, like on the campus. But I didn't have time, money, or resources to like devote to cosplay while I was doing that, because I actually won a national scholarship to study. So they give you like a stipend. And when I tell you a stipend, poverty,
It
poverty.
is the stipend is it's like this.
Yes. No, because like they have what it like realistically, like what they did, right, is if you lived inside of London, you got more money.
Mm.
But anywhere outside of London, because the standard of living, you would have gotten less. And the money that they gave you when that stipend was first, when it first came into being, it was enough. But by the time old girl came around, child, suffering.
They were. Was it just because like inflation and like
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
the
Hmm.
stipend that was set like 10 or 15 years
Yes.
ago had not kept up
Hmm.
with the cost of
It
living?
had not, and I had expensive taste. So I
You expensive taste.
I know. I'm humble. Me, never. So, I ended up choosing the most expensive dorm on campus because I refused to share a bathroom with these people. Like, I don't know you. I don't need to smell your poo. That's not what I'm here for. So I swear, I was like, no, I'm not doing this. So I got like an ensuite room,
Mhm.
and that's where like no, but like on a serious level, I value my peace a lot,
Mm.
and I know I was there to study, so I got like a place that I knew I could just isolate myself whenever I needed to. It was a place called Lakeside. It had like geese and actual lakes and stuff. I was fine and away from everything, because it have some dorms that are known for being party places and that kind of thing. I wanted to be like as far away from that as humanly possible. And if I had to sacrifice most of my stipend for my peace, I will do that. So
Yeah, no,
realistically, that was more the reason. But yeah,
I get that.
most
I
of
get
my
that because
stipend went into that.
yeah, because when I also, I mean, you said you took like a not a hiatus, but definitely you pulled back from actually creating cosplays because
Hmm.
I relate to that because when I was in my final years of college and I was doing my engineering degree, I also was like not making anything during the year. I would only make stuff during the summer break when I wasn't in class or
Yes.
in like the 2 weeks I had at Christmas, I would like try to
Yes.
make something really quick. So like I remember
Hmm.
like every year I went to KatsuCon, I would always make finish it like during Christmas break, and I would have,
Yes.
and then during the summer when I would do like internships or I would do jobs, but like after I finished the job or the internship and I was home for the evening or on the weekends, I would like make stuff. So it was always like
Yeah.
in those small pockets of time, and then there'd be
Hmm.
many months where I wasn't touching a sewing machine or anything.
No, similar. So like I would do it more in the summer, but because I would come home to Trinidad during the summer, I wasn't able to do the conventions over there as much. So I would come home and I'd be here. When was that? Like probably the last week in July to August, and then I'd scrape something together if there was an anime city and then attend and do that. But during law school and stuff, no. But when I did my postgraduate diploma in law, I was in Birmingham for that. We had just finished exams and we had like 2 weeks for Easter, I think it was. And that's when I did my Akasha costume. So literally exams just finished and I had 2 weeks. Okay. And I was like, shit. I ordered in everything, made my costume in my room, and went to London Film and Comic Con. And that's when I won that cosplay contest.
Oh my god, that was
So
in
I did do it
2015,
one
right?
time. I did do it one time.
Was it 2015? I think.
20 would have been 20. Yeah, it might have been 2015.
I think I was reading your bio, and I think that's what.
Yes. Yes. Well, then yes, that is the year.
I think I'm trying to remember. That's so interesting. No, so what you're saying is that you are practiced in working under a tight deadline and under pressure, which is foreshadowing something we're going to get to later in this episode. So you just hold on.
I think I know where we're going, but
exactly.
continue. Yes. Yes.
So I want to talk about living in Trinidad and the cosplay accessibility in Trinidad. So obviously, most of the people listening to this are in the US or in Europe, and they might not even know where Trinidad is. They might not even know like what the cosplay scene is like there. They've probably never been. Explain a little bit about Trinidad at a high level, and then go into more details on like accessibility of cosplay materials, the community there. Kind of explain what it's like for you living there and growing up in cosplay in this country.
Okay, so Trinidad and Tobago, geographically speaking, is the first country and island right after Venezuela in South America. So a lot of people think that we are part of South America. We are not. We're part of the Caribbean and we speak English there. As I was explaining to Zach before the podcast started, we have a long history of like colonialism. So we were discovered or rediscovered. Let's not go there, but you know the history of that. Let's not go there. Right, by the Spanish. So they ruled us first, and then we switched hands a couple of times, and then the British were the last rulers, which is why we speak English. But a lot of places and names and stuff are Spanish or French or whatever it is, right? In terms of the makeup of the country, which I think is really important, especially for talking about cosplay here versus in the States as a person of color, it is majority POC. So like I would say it's split kind of evenly, 50% people from like Afro Trinidadian descent and about 50% people from Indo, as in Indo Trinidadian descent. Because after slavery, they decided they needed labor and they brought the people from India, child. They brought them all the way from India. From India. So people are usually very shocked to find out that we like half our population is Indian. We have Chinese Trinidadians as well. We have white Trinidadians, we have Surinese, we have like basically it's like a cornucopia, a mix of like everything. And if you talk to a lot of Afro Trinidadian people, we are all mixed up with 10 million. It's kind of hard to trace, where everybody is kind of from, but that kind of gives you an idea of like the racial makeup. So like when we are taking it to cosplay and stuff in Trinidad, we never had a concept of racism in the same way as in the States, or the same concept of you need to be the same skin color or that level of accuracy, because in a sense we grew up in a bubble where that was none of us look like the character. So there was never really anybody where we were like, no, you can't do this, because then nobody would cosplay, right?
So that's interesting.
Yeah, we never came up with that concept. And I'm not a minority in Trinidad. So the whole concept of being a minority was only something that I experienced when I lived in Europe. So again, a lot of the things that are happening in United States, where, we have the 28 days of Black cosplay and all of those things, it's a completely kind of different setup here. So I have to actually try to explain to Caribbean people sometimes what the Black American cosplayers are going through, because we don't experience it that way. We didn't have to think about a lot of these things. Like, the people who are minorities here are white people.
That's
So
so I never thought of it that way, because it's like, you know, that's so interesting, because obviously I lived in the United States my whole life, and
mhm,
cosplaying for a lot of my life, and it's just so, well, it's obviously it I feel like it moves forward and then moves backward in terms of
yeah,
like all of the progress that we make, like socially and culturally. But
yeah.
I mean, obviously something that's been very real from my time cosplaying, and I was talking to Alley Cat earlier on the season, was obviously it's
Allie.
very, oh yeah, love, it's very
Yeah.
like, oh, like it was always like, oh, you're the black version of this,
Yes.
or oh, well, you're good for a black version of that.
Mhm.
But like that was just
Mhm.
not a thing in Trinidad,
No.
because it's like everyone is like almost everyone's a POC, or no one looks like, no one has the exact same features as the character. So it's like
Yeah.
you're embodying the character in the way that you dress, in your hairstyle, in the
Mhm.
way that you like
Mhm.
act, the way you pose, and it's not about your race, which is actually
No.
really refreshing.
Yeah, it's we did have like a how do I explain this? So, like, when cosplay first came into being, there were like a couple people who were like, you should only cosplay this character if you're Indian, right? Because to us, Indian was the closest to Asian in that
Oh
sense.
my god.
You
So
know what I
you're
mean?
the mental
You know,
gymnastics. It's like,
mental
oh well, the
gymnastics. It was
closest.
yeah, 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 yeah. But that wasn't like that didn't stick around for long. So when we do like cosplay contests here and we have the rubric that says accuracy, we automatically know that it's not accuracy to what you look like, but accuracy of the costume that you have on and how you interpreted that on yourself. And whenever I have to, like, I've had judges from, not from Trinidad, and they're like, I don't like this accuracy thing. It's like, I understand, but we know what we mean when we say that. Like, we aren't looking to see if you look like the character, because we already started at none of us look
Oh,
like
I
this
see what you mean. So you're
character.
saying like the rubric doesn't say explicitly like, oh, we are not taking your race, body shape into
We don't
consideration,
have
because it's
to.
already like
No.
it's
Yes.
already like written off in sense. Like it's
Yes.
not
So
like in the
when we
US where there's like a disclaimer
mm-hmm,
that says like, oh, we are not judging your like sex, your
mm-hmm,
race, your size. In
mm-hmm.
Trinidad, it was always like we were never looking at those
we
things.
were never we were never even thinking about any of that. So when we say accuracy, automatically anybody that's judging anything in Trinidad is looking at your costume and nothing else.
Oh my goodness. Yeah, that's interesting. That it's just a whole different way of like how the cosplay
Hmm.
culture started because of the makeup of the people living there. That's
Yeah,
interesting.
everybody is I mean, we have our own issues and stuff with race here, but it's not the same as in the States. So the way in which cosplay developed here is a little different. So some people don't tend to empathize or understand sometimes why the American Black people are as quote unquote sensitive, is what they say. But I have to explain to them, is like, they're sensitive because of the environment within which they grew up. We aren't as sensitive. So certain things don't bother us because we're not minorities. So we'll look at
Mm-hmm.
the same thing and be like, yeah, it's racist, but yeah, whatever, and move on. But it's like, it's not like we're saying it's not racist, but
Right.
people here, it just doesn't impact them as badly because we don't face the same issues. And I have to keep explaining to them all the time, because when the 28 days thing first started, they didn't understand why it was necessary. So,
Mm.
and you even had people here saying, "Oh, well, why are we doing this?" Da, 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 da. And I was like, "Okay, first of all, I understand why y'all don't understand, because we don't have a Black History Month, because right, we don't have that. But this is why it's important. Blah 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 blah." So I personally always found that to be quite interesting, like being the bridge between the different types of brown and Black people, because a lot of people tend to think that we are all monolith and we're
Mm-hmm.
all the same and we all have the same experiences. No.
Right.
No. So sometimes I have to kind of explain to people here why certain things are important.
Interesting. Wow. So much more than I even thought to consider or ask. That's so interesting. Like, really, it's like shaking my little pebble brain apart. Like, it is. But so in terms of the the more resource accessibility
Yeah,
and
yeah, yeah.
cosplay culture. So like, how is there like a big cosplay community in Trinidad? Is it smaller? Like, and where do you all like? I guess when you were growing up, where did you get all your resources for like materials and like fabrics and things from?
Okay, so that's a really good question. And it's another interesting answer for you. So, in the English speaking Caribbean, as of right now, Trinidad has, I would say, and has had the biggest cosplay community. But is it big comparatively to somewhere like the United States?
Sure.
No,
No, of
of
course it
course
can't
not.
be.
Like, it can't be, right? So we have like the biggest. And like back in the day when we used to have cosplay competitions, we probably have 30 entries, 40 entries, something like that, and most people made their costumes back then as well. So the other interesting thing is one of the big cultural exports that we have is Carnival. That's like a huge thing here. And Trinidad is basically the home of Carnival, sort of in the Caribbean. So when you have Carnival, sometimes in Jamaica or all these other Caribbean countries, the people who design and sometimes make those costumes are from Trinidad. So we tend to have a lot more resources in terms of craft shops and stuff here than in other like English speaking Caribbean countries. For example, in Barbados, I remember when I first started, like when we were cosplaying, they didn't have EVA foam sheets. We had EVA foam sheets, like right. And the other thing too is that oil was a big thing here. So any petroleum byproduct, we had it.
Oh, okay.
That's where you get your sheets and stuff from. So we would have had stuff like that. And also because of Carnival, we'll have stuff like all the adhesives, the gems, the fabrics, and we had a wide selection of those things simply because we Carnival is a massive export here, but in other English speaking Caribbean countries it's not the same. Even up to today it's not the same. One of the materials that I actually pushed to get into the Caribbean was Werbla, because I actually was the Caribbean distributor for Werbla back in the day when Werbla was used for literally everything under the sun. You have a headache here, use some Werbla.
Right,
Use some
right.
Werbla. Like Werbla was literally used for everything. And that was the one material that I felt like placed us at a disadvantage at that time because we couldn't have it. So I brought it in and I was the one doing the distribution and stuff for that. So I think overall it wasn't bad, but it definitely wasn't, we didn't have as much as the US. And we would have suffered some of the same growing pains as well, as I would have mentioned with the wigs. When there was no colored synthetic wigs, just weren't a thing. Like it just didn't exist. So people used to either bleach their own hair,
Mm.
right?
Mm.
Or they would, or the goo, the gel thing,
Oh
and
yeah, like the
spray and the
color, the spray.
spray.
I did that.
Yeah.
I did that. The
Yes.
spray. Yeah.
Yes. Yeah, the sprays and stuff. The same, that would be, we would have done, the same thing. So I think like back in the day, we were all kind of, I guess, at a want for materials. The only material I think that we just didn't understand or have was insulation foam, which makes sense. What are we insulating here? We sweating down here. So
Oh
and
yeah.
so every time we watch a tutorial and somebody's like, take the pick insulation foam and blah 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 blah, it's like, pick insulation foam, like what is that? um we didn't know what that was, so we were using all kinds of things thinking it was insulation foam, but it wasn't. But yeah, now I would say, I think we're good. We're not great, but I think we're good when it comes to like materials and resources, and what we don't have we usually order in.
Oh, gotcha. Is it pretty
Yeah.
easy to order thing? Like, do you? This is such a dumbass question. Do you order from like fabric websites? Like, do they deliver there? Like, I'm thinking of like
So
Fabric Wholesale Direct or like
so that's a
Silk
good
Baron. Like,
question.
do they deliver there?
That's a good question. And I'm glad you're asking, because things that are normal to me is when you're asking, I'm realizing, oh, right, that's how y'all do it over there. We have like a fabric district and different stores that sell fabrics. So nobody buys fabric online here. We just go. and get fabric. So that was one of the things that was a culture shock to me when I was making costumes in the UK, right? Because I'm accustomed to walking into a store and feeling the fabric and feeling the weight and knowing, okay, yes, I could use, like, I wouldn't know the names of things, but if I feel it, I know I can use
Right.
it for this or I can use it for that, because I'm more accustomed to seeing and feeling the fabrics than ordering them online. But for you guys who have to order online, you tend to be a lot more knowledgeable about the names of the things, because you have to be, and you have to know exactly what it is you're ordering, right?
Mm-hmm.
So when I was doing Akasha, I remember I was like, oh no, how am I going to do this? Because I need to, like, in my mind, I grew up feeling fabric before I bought it. So it was like this weird mental challenge to be like, it says silk chiffon, I guess it's silk chiffon. It's gonna do what silk chiffon does. But I was so nervous buying fabrics and stuff online, and then you had to buy swatches. Child, I don't like. For me, the way y'all live is crazy.
It's I will say too that I'm a huge fan of going and feeling the fabrics in person myself as well.
Yes.
So like my first go-to before I even look online is a lot of times I will drive, because luckily I live in Dallas and we have a pretty, well, it's gotten a little smaller, but new places open. We have a pretty decent fabric district with a bunch of
Right.
warehouses. So I've been able to find fabrics there that I couldn't even find easily online. And that was actually really nice.
Mm-hmm.
But a lot of cities don't have anything. Like all they have
Yes.
is like a Joanne Fabrics, and that's pretty much
Mm-hmm.
it. So they have to order
Mm-hmm.
online. Or like, yeah.
Yes. I was talking to the twins about that because they live like in Kansas, and they were like, yeah, we have to order everything online. And I was like, child, I don't know. Like, you grew up spoiled, and I didn't realize that I was spoiled being able to just walk into stores, because sometimes these stores have things like rolled up in a corner. They don't even know what the name of the thing is. And you're like, you know what? That will be perfect for this thing, and you just pick it up and you go with it. Do we know what it is? No, but it
Right.
works, right?
Right. Well, that's so funny because I've actually found tutorials on the internet, on blogs from different countries.
Yeah.
And it's like someone in like Eastern Europe that's like, oh, I used this thing, and they take a picture of it, and I'm like, what the fuck is this? And then I try Googling it. I try reverse imaging, searching it on Google, and I'm
Yep.
like, what is this? Because it's like,
Yep.
it's like you don't really question it. You're like, oh, this is just here and I'm feeling it. It feels like it'll work. I'll just use
Yep.
that. And then it looks really
Yep.
good and it works. But it's like,
Mhm.
yeah, to your point, the technical names of, oh, well, this is a linen weave with, it's like,
Mhm.
no, it
No,
doesn't.
we have time for that. And a lot of times down here, like the clothing store, like they don't even know. So they just have it there, and they're telling you it's rayon blend, and I'm like, blend with what? Oh, they don't know. They don't know. 100% silk. Is it really? Is this really 100% silk? Like, yeah, but down here, like, that wasn't even a concept to me. So when I had to do it when I was in London, I was like, whoa, this, like, I felt it was so much more pressure for me when I was doing it there, because I was under a time crunch, and I was like, if I don't get this right, then I'm gonna have to order it again, and I
Uh-huh.
don't know if I'm gonna have the time for that. Yeah, so I started. It really opened my eyes to how people in different countries have to create. Like, y'all can't just, oh, I'm gonna whip out a competition piece in 2 weeks. No, like, you have to, like,
There's so much
plan
planning.
you have to plan your stuff out, or you're screwed. And that was a really, even with the all the accessories that I had to buy, because I didn't know the names of things. So I remember, like, searching on Google, and after like a day of searching, I realized the thing was called a cabochon or
Oh.
whatever. Because I knew what I wanted, but I didn't know the name. So I'm pendant thing. Like, I'm there, like, typing in all kinds of things to try to figure out what this thing is. Now I know I know what it is, and then finding out the right size for it. That was crazy, because I'm accustomed to just walking in and just rummaging around in a little pot that they have little bits and bobs in, and picking out what it is I want.
Not rummaging around the little pot. That's so funny.
Rummaging.
No, literally, that sounds like, honestly, that reminds me of like when I lived in Chicago. There was this fabric store that had like the ceiling looked like it was collapsing in on itself, but like in the basement, they had trash bins, and in the trash bins they had like
Yes.
different types of like D rings and like
Yes,
buttons.
that's what we had. Yes, Yes, yes,
You would
yes,
just
yes,
like
yes,
go
yes,
into
yes.
they had little trash cans, and you would just
Mhm.
like rummage through, and then you'd be
Yes,
like, how much does this cost? They'd make up a price, or be like, oh, like 20
yes.
for like $1 or
That
something.
is exactly it. That is exactly it. You were in Trinidad and Chicago.
Yeah, literally. Oh my god. Okay, I want to talk about Carnival because
Yes.
it's something that actually you introduced me to when I started looking at your cosplays, because I actually didn't know what that was. I did
Yes.
not know culturally what it meant.
Mhm.
All I knew is that it involved lots of pretty fabrics, lots of bright colors, sometimes feathers, sometimes
Yes.
sequins, and it looks fabulous. But
Mhm.
explain the history of it and kind of what that looks like when it's integrated with cosplay.
Okay, that's a really good question. So Carnival kind of it came from Europe, right? The slave masters and stuff, they used to have their little celebrations, but the slaves weren't allowed to take part in it, right? So Carnival came as a form of rebellion against those things, and we have a lot of traditional characters in Carnival. So you have let me break that down for a bit. So you have pretty mass, which is what you know Carnival as, with the pretty fabrics and the beads and the feathers and all of that. And we also have something called traditional mass, which is very linked to that history with the slaves and also these characters that they would have created to make fun of the slave masters, but like in jest of them kind of realizing that that's what they were doing. um and you have these like characters that they created. So there's a character called the Midnight Robber, and he's like, he has this big wide brimmed black hat, and he is an orator, right? So he's talking and in poetry and prose and stuff like that, and it's a whole performance on the street with somebody literally like doing monologues. You have other characters called like a Dame Lorraine, and then you're hearing that's French, right?
Right.
So this is this character that has like massive boobs. Their boobs are out there, their butt is out there, and there's a little dance and stuff that they do, with a big hat and stuff. So like you have the traditional characters, then you have like the jabs and the blue devils. They paint themselves blue, and they do a lot of fire breathing and
Ooh.
stuff in the streets. Carnival also is broken up into like different parts. So Carnival takes place on a Monday and a Tuesday, and early Monday morning there's something called Juve, which is French. What does Juve mean again? Was it like early morning, something like that, whatever. So it's called Juve, and that's where you like basically paint yourself with mud and oil, and you're just like parading through these streets in the early morning. And that's sometimes where they do like a lot of political commentary type costumes. So kind of like cosplay in a sense, where sometimes somebody like a friend of mine decided to make a suit out of $100 bills, but that was because we changed our money, right? And yeah, it was a big
Oh.
drama here in Trinidad and Tobago because they decided to randomly change our money, and they didn't give us enough time to change it. So you had people who had like thousands of dollars hidden in a mattress somewhere.
Are you kidding
And
me?
listen, Sheila, it was Yaya actually was has a story with that as well.
Wait, what?
Yeah.
How? Wait, okay, maybe I'll just ask her. But like,
Yeah,
okay, I'm just like,
talk to Yaya. Talk to Yaya because she was here in Trinidad, and she just had all this Trinidad money, and we had to try to figure out how I could get it from her to change it, because then it would be useless. Because they changed the money.
when did this happen?
Oh, I think 2 years ago, 3 years ago.
Oh my
Yeah,
god.
they changed the money. So, again, it's like a political commentary. So
Mm-hmm.
he made a whole tuxedo kind of suit using old money.
Gotcha. That's
So yeah,
crazy.
yeah, you could do like puns and stuff with your costume. You have people drinking from a posy. Do you know what a posy is?
A
A
posy?
p- Listen, ooh, Zach.
No, I don't know what a posy is. Tell me what a posy is.
Ooh, is the podcast ready? So a
No.
posy is the ceramic bowl that you pee in when you don't have a toilet.
Excuse a bedpan? Like a bedpan?
Yes,
Wait, how do you spell this?
I think POSY. That's
Posy
what we call it. We call it a posy.
Trinidad. Okay, we're gonna look this up.
This is hilarious. Are you seeing it?
Uh oh my god. I looked at Posy
Yes.
and
Yes, that's what we call it.
It's okay. Yeah, it says the portable toilet, a potty, water
Well,
tank, teeny, but not last but not least, a posy.
yes, that's what we call it here. Now it's not a used posy, of course, but people are walking around with like alcohol and posies drinking it. It's a wild, wild time. Then you go to the beach, you wash all of that off, you get back home, and you go in the costumes that you are now familiar with, which is like the beads and that kind of thing. More like a kind of Rio de Janeiro style of carnival. You also have soca music, which was developed in Trinidad and Tobago. If people don't know, the steel pan that everybody thinks is Caribbean, that was invented in Trinidad and Tobago. So the culture of carnival is very much a strong part of who we are as a people. Like the whole nation shuts down for like you could basically I saw people already posting about Carnival. Carnival is usually like February or March of each year.
Uh huh.
And what they do is, okay, guys, we're taking a break for Carnival prep for Christmas. But literally on like the 26th of December, people are like, it's time to wrap this up. It's time to wrap this up. Okay, carnival time. We need to start. We need to, we need to start preparing. Like a lot of people kind of revolve around this time of year, the whole thing. People, the gyms actually are testament to that. Like the gyms leading up to carnival are a mess.
What do you mean?
Are a mess. Yeah, because people are very like, we have to be fit,
Oh,
because
so people are like working
yes,
out months in advance
yeah,
for carnival. Oh my god, because
prepare.
a lot of your body is showing, right? A lot of them.
Yes. Yeah. So it's a big thing. And to bring it back to um cosplay, I actually thought it was interesting to kind of marry the two. A friend of mine, Guru, the guy who does like all of my photos and stuff, he did a Carnival Sonico photo with another friend of mine once, and I was like, you know what? I think I could take this and make it a really big part of my self expression as a brand, because it was one of those things that I felt like would was kind of unique to me at that particular point in time too, where everybody was just kind of trying to jump on a trend that was in the era of the virgin killer sweater. And
Oh
yes,
yes.
yes, and every single time a trend comes out, everybody has to kind of jump on it. And who's the first person to do this? I was just like, listen, I just want this is something that means something to me personally, that I feel that I could bring myself to, that I don't feel pressure, to do anything, that, I feel like I have a very intricate knowledge of mashing the two things together. And what's also really cool is the fact that many years ago, people were like, well, why don't you do like a cosplay carnival band, because that's what you call the different sections, the different like costume sections, you call them bands, right?
Oh.
Yeah, we call them bands. So you have Tribe, that's a carnival band. Another carnival band is, I wonder if they're still here, Legacy. Like you have different names for all of the bands, and every year they come up with a theme for their band, and then you have the different sections for the theme. So like if the theme is rainforest, you might have some toucans, you might have some like you have like everybody comes
Oh,
up with a
okay.
different thing, and then the costumes are made for that, and then you buy the costume, right? And they were like, well, why don't you do a cosplay carnival band? And I was like, y'all know us nerds. Them nerds don't want to touch grass. They don't want to go outside because you're going to be in the sun for the whole day, right? And after many, many years of people telling me, you should do this, you should do this, we did it. We had the Trinidad's first cosplay carnival band. And what I did was I kind of meshed it with the theme for my convention, because every year for my convention, I also do a theme. And the theme that year was Mythical Realm. And the reason I did that was because I was like, you know what? I'm going to try to get normies to come into this cosplay carnival band. So I need to pick something that they would get. And at the
Yeah.
time, Game of Thrones was big. So I had like a section called Drogon, like for the dragons. And dragons is actually a traditional character for Trinidad Carnival. We call it Dragon Mass, right?
Oh, so
So
you were reaching
yes,
across the aisle
yes,
with this. You were like, okay,
yes.
how do we
I
get
was
the
like,
normies in here?
hmm.
I love that.
Yeah. So we had a dragon section, we had fairies, we had sorcerers, because everybody knew Voldemort and stuff like
Hmm.
that. We had like different sections that to a cosplayer, they would have gotten the reference that you were going for, but to a normie, they would have think, Game of Thrones,
Right.
like whatever. And we placed fourth, which was really good because that was the first time anybody did anything like that. And we placed fourth in the fantasy, the fantasy division and stuff. I am not doing it again because that was too much work. But no,
How
it
many
was
people were in
crazy.
the band about? Do you
We
remember?
had a mini band, so it was like about 20 to 30 people. And
Okay.
I produced three of the sections. We had five sections, and I produced three, which is making all the costumes from scratch by myself for all
You
those
made
people.
them for these
Mm-hmm.
people?
Mm-hmm. And it's not just making the costumes. When you're in the band, you have to give them food and alcohol for 2 days. You have yes, yes, and you are basically following behind these massive music trucks that are blasting like soca music and stuff. You need to come. You need to experience it. I'm
I
explaining it
feel
to
like
you.
I do.
You need to come and experience it. So you have these massive music trucks, and sometimes on the trucks you have like misters for people. Like you're spraying mist and water and all. Yeah, it's a lot of
And
fun. It
where
is.
do these parades like go? Like where do they?
It's through the capital, so the whole
Okay.
place is shut down, right? And you have a parade route that all of the bands have to take through the capital, and the competition has different judging points along that route that you then have to present. Yeah, you have to put on a
Wait, so
presentation
who
and
there's
stuff.
like judges like at each like station,
Yes,
and then what are they judging based
yes.
on? Like what are the like what are the criteria? I'm so interested.
That much I don't know what they're specific, like I've never seen the judging sheets because that like they don't give that to us, but I think like they have like original, like it depends on which if it memory says, depends on which thing you signed up for, because you also have like the individual competition, you have the traditional mass competition, you have oh gosh, then you have like these, like the individual competition actually doesn't take place on that day. It's take like carnival is like a month long thing. Let me just start there. So the individual competitions take place like I think the week or two before this Monday and Tuesday thing that I'm telling you about, and it's at a specific place, and you have judges there, and you can win prizes for like best carving, wire work, molding. It's a whole thing.
Oh my god.
And what was really interesting about that is we used where cosplay and carnival comes together was I was using a lot of techniques that are known in cosplay, but locally nobody knows what Werbla is. So what was interesting is they have these markers, this rubric, but some of the things I built weren't falling into the rubric. So they were like, "How did you make this?" And I'm telling them about Werbla, and they're like, "Oh, wire. All right, cool."
Why?
And I was just like, you know what? I don't have the strength to correct you.
You're like, I've
So
already been through the gambit. I'm literally playing Carnival Mother to like 30 of these people. I can't
it's
be
fine.
like
Yeah, I can't be
just take
bothered.
it.
Yeah, so you actually have for that takes place at night as well, and you have to come in front of the judges, do a little presentation, and not it's not like a cosplay contest. It's more like it's a mix between a masquerade, like a walk on, but you're dancing. Like you have to. There's
Oh.
something called, they call it dancing the costume. One of the big things in carnival is movement of the costume. So sometimes you have costumes, you're this tiny, but the costume is all the way like 10 feet in the air. And it's how those elements are moving and how you move, and you call it dancing the costume. So you have to make the costume move like
Right.
in a way that, that's a whole thing in and of itself. So the judging rubric, I would say, isn't as centered on accuracy or high level craftsmanship. Let me flip your seams. No, it's not like that, because they are judging you from a distance.
Right.
So what you tend to find with carnival costumes is they're very bright, they're very colorful, but they're not gonna last like years or eons. It's not the same thing. It's, we are here, they're all the way like over there in a stand somewhere, and your costume has to have visual impact over a wide range, like a wide distance. And that was
Mm.
something that I learned because I went into it with a cosplay mindset, right?
Right.
So this is me with all these little intricate, like realistic looking scales. They can't see that.
They're like
they
we no, we cannot see little
they
ants.
can't see that. Yeah, so that's why when you look at carnival costumes, some people might think they're really gaudy, or they have like a lot going on them, but it's because they're made to be appreciated at a distance. Nobody's walking up to you like this, trying to
Right.
see how well made this thing is or anything like that. It's from a distance, so they're looking for visual, like a lot of visual impact with the costumes.
Right. So you've taken like some iconic characters and kind of
Yes.
taken their like color schemes and motifs of their costumes and incorporated it into like the carnival like aesthetic, right? Like you did it with
Yes.
X-Men recently, I think.
Yes, with
What are
Melanie.
some other ones? Yeah, yeah, yeah. What are some other ones you've done in the past?
Ooh, I think one of the first mashups I did was Mortal Kombat because,
Oh.
yeah, I did Mortal Kombat. So I did Kitana, Scorpion, and someone else. I've done. Oh my God, you have like I've done so many carnival cosplay things. I'm trying to think now. You have me on the spot. Let me go on. Let me go on my profile, child.
I
Let
mean,
me see.
well, because I was like, it's so interesting, but like, are most of the, I don't know,
Oh
most of the
yes.
costumes are so like, I feel like they're so like feminine, but is that like the case, or is it kind of a mix of both? I don't know.
Oh well, you could like one of these things. Like for example, one of the costumes that I do want to do in future is Sailor Moon, right? And there's something called sailor, like traditional sailors. That is a traditional character, and men are the ones who usually are sailors.
Oh,
So like a lot of the character, like the Midnight Robber is usually a man. You have like the people with the whips and stuff. You have women who do it, but a lot of men tend to be involved in those things. The pretty mask that you see, is more for like femme presenting people, and the male costumes for carnival, people tend to complain about them because they tend to be very plain. The men usually just get like a pair of pants, a little band to go on their head, a little band on their legs, and they're good. And most men like that, but in recent times, people have been like making more extravagant male costumes now. So yeah, as far as I'm aware, you do have like male costumes, but they tend, in terms of the pretty mass ones, they tend to be a bit more simple.
yeah, makes
Yeah.
sense.
But the carnival designers, some of especially the gay men, they go all out.
Oh, really?
They go, listen, they go all out. So you would see them a lot of times with like full, like their entire body is like body paint, like full, yeah. Yeah, so they'll
Oh.
airbrush like the base, like they'll airbrush like their entire bodies and stuff, glitter, all of that, and then they have these massive wings. I will send you pictures of like a
Oh,
couple of
please
them.
do. I want to see. I want to see the half naked men body painted up with their wings.
Yeah, that's the thing. Like for like when men do it, it's like they have to be the ones to go all out and like put in the effort. But the women are the ones that are spending like all of the money on these really like elaborate costumes.
Gotcha. Makes
Yeah.
sense. No, that's so cool. I love your cosplays, and I also like kind of want to see this for my. I want to see this for myself sometime because it sounds absolutely chaotic and crazy, but it sounds like
Yes.
really really fun and hot. It sounds hot. Is it
It is.
hot?
The it's basically you're in the hot sun for like an entire day, and it depends on when you start. So like if like on Monday, some people start a bit later because remember there was Juve earlier with the
Right.
posies.
And everyone's shit faced.
Yes, yes, and then they have to collect themselves and they come out. But Tuesday, people are out from as early as 7 o'clock in the morning, and they will go till 11, 12 o'clock at night or more.
Oh
Yeah,
my
for the whole
god,
day.
that is
It's
so
a whole. It's
wild.
it's like a whole day thing. It's a lot. You have to have a lot of stamina.
I need to go like look at videos of this on YouTube or something.
You
Um,
should. You should.
no, that
Yeah.
sounds so cool. Hey, I want to talk about Alias.
Yes.
Is that how you pronounce it? I want to make sure I'm getting it right.
Alias. Yes. Yes.
Okay,
Yes. Yes. Do
perfect.
not say Elias, please.
No, no, never, ever. So yeah,
Yeah.
Alias Entertainment Expo. You are the
Yes.
executive director. How did this
Yes.
convention begin, and how did you get involved with this convention? Did you
Okay.
start this convention? Explain.
I did. So, okay. Here's what had happened, right? So I was away studying law, right? And a couple of friends were talking about doing a convention here in Trinidad and Tobago. And because Anime City had they stopped operating for whatever reason.
Oh.
I don't know. Yeah, they had stopped operating, and for a while people were trying to, encourage them to come back and to do things, but they weren't doing it. So people were like, let's make our own convention. And I was studying, so I really was not that. I was like, yeah,
You're like,
y'all
I do
figure
not have
that
the
out.
time for this. It's like,
I
have
don't.
fun.
I don't. Correct. So I was like, y'all figure that out. Y'all figure that out. But they were not getting it together. They were not getting it together. Like they kept, I would be I'd come home from like a lecture or something, and there'd be somebody in my DMs complaining about some drama that happened in a meeting, who didn't do what, who didn't do this. And I started asking questions like, do you have a venue booked? Like, what is going on? Come to find out, they were running around like headless chickens. Nobody knew what they were doing, right? And I was getting annoyed. So I was like, okay, I am studying. I'm doing my master's, mind you. I'm doing my master's, right, in international economic law. And I'm in England, and I'm also planning an event in Trinidad at the same time because I was over it.
That is wild. Wait, this
I was
sounds
over it.
this sounds very similar to how you started cosplay. You saw a
Yes,
mess and you were like, how do
exactly.
I insert
Exactly.
myself and make this
Yes,
correct? How do I fix
exactly.
this?
No, that is the thing. People are always like, you're always doing this. I'm like, because there's a need. Okay. So yeah, they were not getting it together because I was of the opinion that I would come back from school and I'd have a convention to go to and I'd have a great time.
Right.
No, they were not getting it together. So I decided to host a costume party. So Alias started as a costume party first, right?
Okay, more low
I
key.
got my Yeah, so I had my friends on the ground booking the venue. So they would go to the venue, they would take pictures and they'd send it to me. I'd review it. I'd be like, yes, no, da 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 da, blah 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 blah. We booked the venue, and it was like a free drinks party too. So we got the alcohol. We
Oh,
did everything.
Lev.
Yeah, ooh. We got we did the whole 9 yards. And the first Alias was a costume party, and it was a costume party for about, I don't know, maybe 3, 4 years or so. And then in 2014, I decided I wanted to elevate it to an expo because there were other people in the Caribbean who were doing it, and they were asking me to help them bring a convention to Trinidad. And I was like, yeah, sure. And then when I was doing the research and all of the like preparation for getting a convention, I was like, wait, hold on now. Hold on. Why am I doing all of this for another convention to come to Trinidad where I could just do all the work for my own convention?
Right. Wait, so was it like these conventions or these companies that were like in other islands in the Caribbean that
Yeah.
were like, "Oh, we have X convention on this island, but we want
Mm-hmm.
to make one in Trinidad.
Mm-hmm.
So can you help
Yes.
us be the coordinator for our convention
Yes.
there?" And
Yes,
then
they were like,
okay, gotcha.
hmm yeah. So they were like, they wanted me to like do the whole process of opening up the business for them and like doing all that. And I didn't have a problem doing it. But in doing it, I was like, if I'm doing this for somebody else, why can't I not just also do it for myself? Because I have ideas that I want to do like for a convention. I've been to conventions abroad and I know what would work here and what won't work here. So I was like, hey, I'm still gonna help you guys, don't worry, but I would also, like to throw my hat in the ring and do my own thing. Needless to say, they did not like that at all. So, yeah, yeah, the girls were mad.
Oh.
The girls were mad. The girls were mad. And that blew up in flames, and Alias was born.
So all the other conventions just like were like, oh fuck, and then they like. So did any other convention ever like put its feet into Trinidad, or was it really just yours?
No, that was at that particular point in time. There was a huge gap in the market because, as I said, anime city gone, dead, kaput. Everybody else wasn't getting their life together. And I was like, but I want a place to cosplay. Like, I just finished like doing all of this studying. I want to come home and I want to cosplay. Like, what is this? And then I did the parties.
Right.
And then there was that one convention that wanted to, expand and have
Mm-hmm.
a convention in Trinidad. And then I was like, yeah, I'm gonna do my own thing. And when they heard I was gonna do my own thing, that kind of blew up in flames. So at that point in time, it was only Alias and one other convention, which I told you about, which was Comic Fest, that was in
Mm.
existence. And the thing about Comic Fest, they were a free convention, so there was no ticket, child.
How
You
does
could
that
just
work?
child. That's what I was saying. So 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 they were doing it like that. And I was like, well, I'm going to charge people to get in. And they were like, good luck with that. Nobody's going to pay. They paid.
Right. Well, it's how can you
They
even
paid.
have a how can you have programming? How can you do anything if you're not
There
charging people?
wasn't, that was the other thing. Conventions in Trinidad weren't the same as in the US. There were no panels.
There was
That's
like
not
no
what,
guest panels.
no,
Like, what were you doing?
no,
What were you doing?
child. I don't know. So, okay, let me tell you how Anime City was. Anime City as a convention, the main thrust of it was watching anime. Look at Zach's face.
You're you're going to a convention to watch anime?
Yeah, because we didn't have access to it. So they would have like there were like different screens around the convention showing different things, and then you had the hentai screens upstairs to the
Oh
18 plus.
yes.
Yeah, you had those screens and stuff. But like you would have had different screens throughout the convention, and you had it was like a cinema really, and you had like a list of all the shows that were going to be shown at what particular time. And at the beginning of the day there were like vendors, but usually everything would sell out by like 10 o'clock, 11 o'clock in the day. And you would Zach's face is cracking me up.
I'm
And
just
you would just then you would go around watching whatever shows that you wanted to watch. And then there would be the cosplay contest in the afternoon, and then there was an area for people playing Yu-Gi-Oh, and Yu-Gi-Oh was like the mafia back then. Like that was crazy. Like I will always remember, side story, we were sitting in the cafeteria, and this little boy just runs up to us and is like, hi, can I pretend to be your friend? I was like, why? Because they're coming to get me. Coming to get you? Why are they mean coming to get you? Yeah, they're trying to shake me down for my cards. I was like, okay, bro. So we had to like shelter this little boy with his Yu-Gi-Oh cards. Yeah,
they
it was
are
the Wild
coming
Wild
to
West.
get me. Oh my
They
god.
were coming to get him for his blue-eyed white dragon. I don't know. So yeah, that is what conventions were for us. A lot of that was back in the days of VHS and stuff too.
Hmm.
So yeah, a lot of people didn't have cable TV. A lot of people didn't have access to various anime. So the first time that we would see some anime is at this convention. We wouldn't have
Mm.
known about the existence of other like I remember I was walking, and I could tell you exactly where I was walking because this was like one of those key moments for me. And I saw this guy walking. He had his hair sprayed, but like when you spray it blonde, it turns green.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, right. So I thought it was green hair, but it was supposed to be blonde. And he was dressed in orange. His pants were too short, right? There was like calf level pants. They were too short. It was orange. He had a white fur thing. And I'm looking at him and I was like, why are your pants so short? What is this? He was dressed as Naruto.
That's what I was thinking. I was like, was he supposed to be Naruto?
Yeah, but we don't know who Naruto was.
This is crazy. Wait.
We didn't know.
So
So I'm looking at this guy. I was like, are you well? Like, are you well, sir? What is this? And what kind of sandals are those? And he's like, this is Naruto. I was like, what kind of stupid anime is Naruto? Like, what is that?
that's so crazy that this wasn't even this convention was more of like exposing people to anime that
Yeah.
versus like voice actors or like
No, we didn't have none of that.
it wasn't like the bonus content that our conventions are like. It was like, oh,
No.
this is like your only chance to be able to see these shows.
Yeah,
Like
for
you
a
come
lot of
like once a
people.
year, or I guess they ended up doing it
Mm-hmm.
twice a year eventually, but like once a
Mm-hmm.
year. And so Alias, what you were you like one of the first conventions to actually run in a format that was like more akin to what we
Yes.
would expect in the US?
Exactly. And even now, I'm still rolling out things that you think is normal, and people here are freaking out. Like to this day. Be- so I let me explain. So we weren't the first to bring down a guest. I think the first person to bring down a guest was Comic Fest, and they brought down this guy called CB Cebulski. Apparently he was like a inker or artist for DC Comics at one point.
Okay.
And because we, like, a lot of people didn't know any, not know any better, but regardless of whether you were into DC Comics or not, it was a big deal because you're like, oh my god, somebody from
Hmm.
DC is here, like, oh my god. And that was a big deal for us back then. Alias, I brought in the first ever cosplay guest. She doesn't cosplay anymore. Her name is Eve Beauregard. We flew her in from Australia, and she came and she taught like some Warbler workshops. And then we brought down the creator for GI Joe, Larry Hammer. um it was good. It was good.
Yeah.
I did good. We did good.
You did a good job. You
Yeah,
were bringing in
we did.
people, and they were
We
like,
brought
"Oh
in
my god."
people. Yeah, and that was the first time people were standing in line to get autographs. I was like, they were just understanding, this entire concept of like a convention. And then since then, we've expanded it, but like Alias was always the biggest one, and conventions for the most part, Alias is the only convention presently that has multiple rooms. And that is a big deal for people. They are complaining right now. There are some people complaining. And I'm like, listen. Okay.
Wait, we see rooms. You mean like multiple
Yeah.
different, like there's like a dealer's room, there's like an
Yes.
artist alley, and they're
Yes. And
complaining that there's more than one like play.
yes.
Wait, what? They're complaining there's too much to do?
Yes. Because they're accustomed to literally everything being in one room. The stage and all the stage activities is in one end of the hall. The dealers are right there next to it. So if you are a dealer, right, you could watch what's going on stage. So you have dealers complaining now because they can no longer see what's going on stage because it's in a different room.
This is wild.
Yeah, this is what I want them to watch. I'm going to clip this and I'm going to show it to them because I'm like, guys, I'm trying to bring this event up to an international level, because one of the things that was really limiting about doing things in one hall is that you're not able to have like content running simultaneously,
Right.
right? So you're limited with how many things you can fit into a convention day if everything has to run concurrently, right?
Right.
If you now have a hall where you could have things going on here while something is going on over here, you are now in a position where you can do a lot more with your day. And some people have taken kindly to that. Like, we have to have a schedule. If we don't have a schedule, you don't know what's going on and where. And some people are like, this is too much, I'm overstimulated, like, what is happening? Vendors are upset. Some vendors are upset because I think I made less money because you had the entertainment in the different hall and people were going over there instead of buying my stuff here. Yes. And I have to explain to them, no, I don't think that's the case. I don't think that's what's happening here, buddy. But
That's crazy. It's like they
yeah.
don't understand the concept of the more diverse programming you have, the broader your audience would be for attending, the more
Yes.
attendees you will have, therefore the bigger population you
Mhm.
have to be able to go to your vendors, go to your
Mhm.
events, like buy the art, like experience. That's
Yes.
crazy. Wait, so
They don't get it.
they're used to like everyone being like, all right, everyone's gonna go and watch this. No,
Yes.
everyone's gonna
Yes.
go and do this. It's like hold
Correct.
hands, like we're gonna walk over here
Yes.
now.
Yes. And if you came to that convention, you'd be like, what is this? What is taking place? So literally every year I'm trying, like it's basically you have to hold their hand a little bit, and you can't go. It's like Dr. Stone. You know Dr. Stone?
Yes.
The anime, right? It's like we can't go too far. Like one episode we're gonna make a cell phone, okay, all right, and the next episode we're gonna do this. Like you can't give them, you can't overstimulate them, you can't move too fast,
Oh
right?
my
So yeah,
goodness.
now this is our second year of having multiple halls. We've had to have the schedules up on like digital screens, so people have to read the screens to know what's happening. And people were complaining, like there were people making reviews of the convention saying that, yeah, I don't like that. Why do they have two separate halls? It means I can't see everything the convention has going on. Like, this is an issue for me. Like,
Oh, you can't see everything everywhere all at once. Like you're
no,
not
you can't.
omniscient. Like you should go
Yep.
to one. Oh my god, that's crazy. That's such a
Yeah.
different
Yeah.
mindset.
It
So it's like year
is.
by year you're kind of expanding, you're
Yes.
adding, you're
Mm-hmm.
refining and changing, because if
Yep.
you do too much at once, everyone's just be
Mm-hmm.
overwhelmed. But
Yes.
it's so interesting because I feel like you're probably, I mean, I could be wrong, but I imagine most of the people in Trinidad that are attending Elias, they probably don't go go out of the country to a lot of other conventions,
Exactly.
right? So you're one of the few people
Exactly.
that lives there that probably has a very broad
Mm-hmm.
experience with all kinds of different conventions, but you're kind of like
Exactly.
living in this like alternate reality.
Yes. Yeah. And could you imagine? And like I have so much more patience now having to deal with it, because I'm like, okay, I know this is the better way to go, but they don't know that, right? And you can't talk to them, like you can't talk down to people. So you just have to kind of meet them where they're at, kind of.
Right.
And the sad part is, because they're accustomed to, so like they're accustomed to a certain thing, they don't want to pay money for more, you know, but they're expecting more, because even though they've never gone to a convention abroad, they've seen footage from a New York Comic Con,
Okay.
right? They've seen footage. So they're looking, and if you've ever been to NYCC or SDCC, or actually Anime Expo,
Mm-hmm.
right? And you see what the convention floor looks like, they're coming to me and they're like, y'all need to work on your decor. And I'm like, sir, what do you mean? They're like, well, when you go to, this is why, I'm gonna save up my money to go to a convention abroad, because I don't think what y'all are doing here is on that level. I'm like, sir,
Oh,
you
honey. They're like,
you
okay.
are
They're like, well, I'm mad about my $50 ticket, so I'm gonna save up
yes,
my money to fly to fucking New York City.
yes. Do you know how much they pay? Let me tell you. So we have the cheap. They pay 100 TT dollars, which I think is 15 US for entry.
15?
15 US,
One
one
five.
five a day, and they're fussing.
Oh my god. And they're like, well, I'm just gonna go over to New York Comic
Yeah.
Con and I'll get better production
Uh-huh.
value. I was like, okay, you do that.
Uh-huh.
Get your flight,
Yeah.
get your try to get your ticket, attempt. Have fun with the hotel. Oh my god, this is so
Yeah.
crazy.
And they're like, where's the decor? I'm like, let me break this down for you. Do you think New York Comic Con is the one creating the Crunchyroll um
Like
floor
exhibit.
attraction? do you
Right.
do you think do you think New York Comic Con is the one bringing in the 100-foot Luffy statue?
Right.
Do you think that's how this works? No, the vendors and the people who are there are responsible for decorating their area. Y'all don't even want to spend 100 TT dollars to get in. What do you want? They're wild.
They
They're
want
wild, but
everything.
again, it comes from a place of ignorance. And if you spend all your life like in one place thinking that, okay, we just need one hall with, every, and we know when everything is going to take place and everybody could watch everything, and you're now shooting all of these new things at them and you're telling them, okay, well, it's going to cost this much, this much, this much, and they don't see the value in certain things. These are the types, unfortunately, of conversations that you're going to have. And I now have the additional role of not only bringing these things to them, but also educating them on the value of why these things are important. And it's an
Mm.
uphill battle. Like, I single-handedly am like carrying this whole cosplay community thing on my back, because before Alias, the cosplay contests were let me tell you. So whatever did not sell in the morning, because remember I told you like there were vendors in the morning
Uh-huh.
and things would be sold out by like 10 a.m. So the
Mhm.
cosplay contest was like probably like 2 o'clock, 3 o'clock in the afternoon, and whatever did not sell were the prizes.
That's not- that sounds like early 2000s like conventions in the US where it was
So
like,
okay,
yes, the vendors
it
would
was the
take
same.
their grab bags of their junk, their like
Yes,
volume 3 season like 2 of
yes,
whatever
of some
DVD,
weird
or like
unknown harem
weird
anime.
like weird little like
Mhm.
figures, and they would just put them onto a bin and then be like, oh, congratulations, here's your prize, and you end up with a
That's
pile
what
of
they were.
junk.
That's what it was. I was the first person to have a website.
Oh my
I was
god.
the first person to have rules.
Rules.
Yeah, rules. Go figure. You need rules, right? I was the first person to have prejudging, the whole concept of prejudging. Even now, like there are other conventions in the Caribbean, they're now getting prejudging after coming to Alias and seeing how we do it and being like,
Oh.
oh, yeah, because I do the Caribbean Cosplay Championship, which the finals are at Alias. And what I did this year was I had some of the organizers from the other countries be part of the judging panel, not only to give them the insight as to how this is done, so that they could then take that back to their own country and then start implementing that there, because prejudging was not a thing. They weren't doing it. They weren't
Whoa.
doing it.
Yeah.
You
Wait,
know,
talk
they did.
about
They,
the cosplay championship, because that's something I want you to
yeah.
elaborate on, because I explained like what that looks like in the Caribbean, and then like you said that the
Mhm.
finals are at Alias.
Yes. So the Caribbean Cosplay Championship was something that we started back in 2014, and we've had like various success with, because it's a money thing more than anything, right? I was inspired by the World Cosplay Summit to have something specifically for the Caribbean region, because a lot of people here don't have the opportunity to fly to this convention and compete, or fly to that convention and compete.
Right.
So I really wanted to create a culture for cosplay here in the Caribbean. Like, we could genuinely say, like, the culture for cosplay in America is very different. For the culture of cosplay in Europe is very different from the culture of cosplay in Asia. What does that look like for the Caribbean? I don't want us to be copying everybody and copying this or copying that. I
Mm-hmm.
want us to come up with something, that we could call our own for ourselves, and that we could be proud of on an international stage. So that's what gave me the idea of doing the Caribbean Cosplay Championship. The finals is at Alias on the Sunday night. Because Sunday is when we have our cosplay contest, by the way, and we do prejudging, contest, and announcements all on the same at the same day. So it's not like you do prejudging on one day and then you come back
Yeah.
and you perform. Yeah, we don't do it like that. We do everything all on one day. Um, and as I said, Trinidad has the biggest cosplay community. Then you have Jamaica, then you have Barbados, the Bahamas, Guyana, Antigua. I think just started having cosplay conventions a couple of years ago. So a lot of stuff that is normal for you guys is at its infancy in Trinidad. And one of the things that's really interesting about us is a lot of people grew out of cosplay, but we don't have as many people coming in at the same time. So what I've noticed in the 20 years I've been doing this is you have rises and falls of interest in cosplay in Trinidad. When back in like when I was in my petty era, we had a large number of cosplayers. Like, you would have had 50 to 100 cosplayers, competing and doing stuff at events. And I think like from 20, what would I say, boy? From 2014 to 2017, we had less people, but higher level
Okay.
cosplayers being produced, because they were cosplaying for longer, right? Then those people grew out of cosplay. So that's another thing here. They grew out of it completely. And then there was nobody. So, yeah. So COVID came now. It's like Noah and the ark, right? Wipe the earth clean, right? That's what it was. That's what it was. And now you have the community is basically babies. So you're kind of
Oh.
starting back from where you were in 2004
Oh my
now.
God.
Yeah, because I could probably name 5 to 10 people who make their costumes now. When 2019, that was everybody, and they were making high level costumes. But those people moved on. And then now you just have a whole wave of just babies, you know? And now you have to teach them how to sand foam, and now you have to teach them how to do all these
Oh my
different things.
goodness.
Yeah. And then you have the other Caribbean countries who are only now having, like Guyana, I think this is their second year of having an anime convention ever. Ever.
Oh my God.
Yeah. 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 Bahamas, probably their third year of having a convention to ever exist in the country,
That's
you know? Yeah.
crazy.
So you have like literal cosplay babies. They don't know who Yaya Han is.
They don't know. They don't know
They
what's
don't
going
know.
on. It's
They
so
don't know.
crazy. It's like almost like insulated from.
Hmm.
It's like almost like you're going to a time capsule.
Yep. Yep. So now you're in a place where you just kind of have to, you feel like you're rebuilding something that you already built back then. But it's not like the US, where of course people drop out of cosplay all the time, but you just have so many people doing it that it doesn't necessarily affect
Right.
the whole community. But when you are starting with a small community and you have a large exodus of people, it definitely impacts the growth and where you are with the community and stuff like that. Like back in, I would say the golden era for us was probably 2014 to 2018. Everybody had a cosplay page. Everybody was
Mhm.
trying to be cos famous. It was a whole thing, and then those people just left. And then
Right.
now we have babies and TikTokers. And
That.
now,
Yes.
yeah, yeah, and you now have to try to explain to them, okay, guys, this is what a cosplay competition is. This is prejudging. This is the rubric, and you kind of have to start over from scratch. So the CCC right now got a complete repaint because we had a revamping of it during COVID, where we did it digitally, and that was probably one of the most successful years because people didn't have the restriction of I can't afford to fly to Trinidad. They
Gotcha.
could have competed from the comfort of their home. The stream had probably over 200 people.
Oh wow.
Um, yeah, just on the stream from across the Caribbean watching it. You know, we then decided to switch it back to an in-person contest. So this year we would have had Barbados. No, we would have had the Bahamas, Guyana, and Trinidad and Tobago. And that's a big win for us because one, there's not that many countries that have cosplayers and have events that they could actually have a representative chosen to send.
Mhm.
And two, it's expensive to, well, not as expensive as going to America, but it still has a cost with coming to Trinidad and stuff for the event. So as of right now, the representative countries are the Bahamas, Guyana, Jamaica, Trinidad and Tobago, and we have people who compete from Barbados, but we don't have like a convention there. It's just like they just on their own dime if they want to come over and compete, and that's how we do it. And it's a craftsmanship and performance contest, like sort of like ECG in a
Gotcha.
sense, because that was the other interesting thing culturally. We like to perform in the Caribbean,
Right.
so yeah, because I know America, y'all are now getting into the
Yeah, just
performance
barely.
thing.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, in Trinidad and the Caribbean from the beginning. And it's interesting because that was without prompt. So it wasn't us watching what was going on somewhere else. We just automatically were performing on the stage
It
in
was built
cosplay
into like the
for
culture, into the DNA of the
yeah.
nature of living there.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. So it was just expected. Nobody's surprised that you have to do a performance. What is surprising for them is, well, you have to give me your music track. Yes, you do have to give that to me, and you have to give that to me before the event. Yes, that would be nice.
How else
Yes,
is it going to get played?
child.
On a
They don't
speaker
know.
on your
Oh my god.
iPhone, holding it up to the microphone?
No, so just the concept of creating a music track for some people was new. They were just gonna go on stage and shout.
Oh,
If you let them, yeah.
if you let them, they will shout.
If you let them, they will come on stage, they'll shout, they'll do whatever you, and then you have to coach them through, okay, this is how so we used to do music before, and this was the first year that we introduced a background screen.
Oh,
So now they have to learn about how to use a background screen, and I had to teach them
yeah.
about how to use that because they were confused. They were like, okay, what do I put on the screen? How do I do this? Like, how do I construct a performance? Da 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 da. And like you have to walk them through. So you're kind of starting over in a
Right.
sense, and while you're starting over, you're trying to kind of get them to a high level fairly quickly.
Yeah.
You know, so yeah, that's what it is. Half of it is craftsmanship, half of it is performance. We do it similarly. The structure is kind of like Crown, where we do the Trinidad and Tobago Cosplay Championship at the same time as the finals for the Caribbean Cosplay Championship. So the winner of the TTCC automatically goes to the Caribbean Cosplay Championship, which is taking place at the same time. So it's like
Right.
Crown in that sense, because
Hmm.
we have no money to be wasting
To all
out
these
here.
different events. Yeah. 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 Makes
Uh-uh,
sense.
uh-uh. So we do it like, yeah, we do it all in one.
Did y'all ever have like a WCS like representative from the Caribbean?
Yes. Yes, we did. So Trinidad and Tobago was the first because I fought for that. I fought so hard for that, I remember back in 2014, we have the Alias like Facebook group when people use Facebook groups.
Hmm.
We had an Alias Facebook group, and people from across the Caribbean we were talking about, and it was like, oh my god, it would be so good if we could get representation in the WCS, because back then the WCS was like the epitome, like the
Right.
height of cosplay, right? That was what everybody was shooting for, right?
Right.
And we were even talking about like representing as a region, maybe not like as a country, and all these different things. And I badgered these people, like the WCS Mori-san, like we were in their DMs, like, listen, we want to be a part. How do we go about doing this? What do we have to do? And there was a lot of back and forth and stuff. We finally got on board to do it. There was drama with that because, yeah, there was drama with that. Because I stepped down from organizing the event so that I would be able to enter the WCS,
Okay.
and people did not like that at all. So
Oh, they didn't like that after you had gotten representation for Trinidad at
yeah,
WCS as a country.
yeah,
You
yeah,
then said, okay, I'm going to take a step back from running the
yes,
convention and to not have
yes,
like a mixed interest. I'm going to be able to
exactly,
compete. That way I can
yes,
represent my country at
mm-hmm.
WCS, but not be running the convention at the same time. If
Exactly.
the children were angry, did they?
No, because they didn't want me to compete at all, because they thought it would have been unfair for me to even be in the competition.
Why? Because you're too good? That's when you say,
Yeah.
well, get better, bitch.
No, well,
Sorry, no.
that was the drama with that. In the end, the a lot of teams dropped out. So we would have started out with like 7 teams, and by the time the day rolled around, there was 2. Us and
You guys and one other.
there was barely a competition, child. And then there was drama with that, but we decided to send, just to like dead the issue, we sent the other team. We was like, you know
Okay.
what? Go to Japan, do your thing. And that's to tell you how I know I am a child of God, because I was actually chosen by the WCS to be one of the top 20 One Piece cosplayers in the world that same year, and they flew me out. So I was there.
Oh, so they made it happen anyway. Oh, Liv. Oh, that's great. That's so good. Karma is great sometimes.
That's what I was saying. I was like, because I stepped back, I was like, you know what? Go ahead. You go and do your thing. Boom. WCS is like, out of all these thousands of people, we like your Charlotte smoothie. Please come to Japan. I was like,
That's so fucking good. That is so
yeah.
good.
So that's how I ended up being there, and I helped to judge that year. Yeah, so I judged the craftsmanship. I wasn't able to do the performance because they had the people who were doing the One Piece things on a completely different schedule.
Okay.
So yeah, we were going between Tokyo to Nagoya to Tokyo to, yeah, it was,
That's not normal.
no, it wasn't. That was a disaster in a sense, because like, so again, I was wearing, I don't know if you're familiar with the character. She's Charlotte Smoothie from One Piece, and it's a leotard.
Oh.
And try explaining to people why you can't be re-wearing this every day. So I'm just like, I can't. And they're like, yeah, just spray it. I was like, do you know what a yeast infection is? Are you
not not you explain not you explaining. Do you know what a yeast infection is?
No, I had to explain. I was like, is this a biology class? Like, no, that's not how
Oh my god, my
that
face
area
hurts
works.
from laughing. Oh my god.
I was like, no, that's not how that area works, sir. So literally, I was washing that thing and then trying to put it like on one of the radiators that weren't on because it's summer in Japan,
Right.
right? And then I'm in the morning with an iron trying to dry.
Oh, girl.
It was bad.
How many
And I
days
was
in a
like,
row did they want you to wear that?
3
Oh my god.
3 or 4, something like that. We had to keep putting it
Putting
on.
on that sweaty leotard in the middle
Yeah,
of
just keep
summer.
putting on the sweaty leotard. I'm like, listen, like it was the ghetto. It was the ghetto. In the heat, in the Japanese summer.
That is so fucking crazy.
It was, listen, I have that's a different podcast. For, like my time in Japan on a
Yes,
whole
that
is a
could be a whole
podcast
thing.
in and of itself because it was wild, especially being black in Japan. Listen,
Oh my
and black
god.
cosplaying, that's a whole different story for a whole other time. But yeah, that's how I ended up in Japan for WCS, and then the we decided to hold we no we held another preliminary and we actually won and people were fine with me winning the second time.
Okay.
So I'm actually the current representative for Trinidad and Tobago at the WCS, one half of the team. But we've never been able to go because when we were chosen, COVID happened.
Oh, wait. So
Yeah.
you did it, what would that have been like in 2019 or 2020, early 2020 or 2019?
Yes. Yeah. We were selected the in November or something of 2019. COVID happened. Um, and then the WCS did not know whether the WCS was going to be a thing, right? In 2020. And then in 2021, they were all doing this online thing.
Right.
And then there was a whole big, well, the contract was already up because I think you signed like a 3-year contract, something like that, with WCS. So yeah, we haven't been able to go.
Wait, so has anyone from Trinidad ever competed at WCS since you?
No, well, I didn't compete. So
No,
remember,
no.
we
Has
sent the
anyone like
other team.
entered into? Has it like has since you won? You're the spot to go. Has any
No,
other
because we
team?
haven't gone. We haven't
Wait.
gone.
So what? So what's the current state of things? Like
The we would like to know because we are emailing them like
we would like to
we
know.
too we too would like to know.
Oh my god! Wait.
Yeah,
So
we are messaging them. We're waiting for them to tell us like, hey, are we coming? Are we not coming? We don't know. So I'm not going to hold another preliminary if we don't know what's
for not,
happening.
yeah, it's like you're not. That's crazy. Oh my
Yeah, so
god.
you're talking to the representative, Trinidad and Tobago, in whatever year we don't know.
This is too much. This is too much. I
I'm
can't.
telling you.
This is crazy. Okay. Um no, it's so wild. Well, one day maybe Alias Entertainment Expo. I'm coming for you. We'll see. It sounds
Yeah.
so fun. I mean, also just
Yeah.
the photo opportunities, like some of your photos from living in Trinidad, so
Oh,
gorgeous.
thank
Like
you.
like I remember the first one I saw of you utilizing scenery heavily was your costume from, I think it's World of Warcraft.
Yes.
Yeah, you're
Yeah,
like
yeah, yeah.
your squid mother. I don't know the name of the character.
Squid mother.
It's Squid Mother. It's all blue with the coral reef. That one on the
Yes.
beach. And then I was
Yes.
like, when I went through and I was like, oh my gosh, like there's so many beautiful places. But I guess you get
Yeah.
when you live on an island. So
No, well, here's the funny thing about that, because again, you don't know what you have until somebody points it out to you, right? We living in Trinidad think we are so limited. We think it's so limited because the grass is always greener. So when we're looking at y'all taking pictures in front of a castle somewhere,
oh
or taking pictures on some, looking the place looking like a western thing, or you're looking like freaking Dorothy in the middle of a plane somewhere. We're just like, well, damn, we don't have anything in Trinidad. But then when you sit and you think about it, we have so much variety in our flora and fauna that you will not find in other Caribbean countries because geographically Trinidad used to be a part of the mainland. So we broke off, we ran away, right?
right.
But a lot of the flora and fauna is the same things you're going to find in South America, but then you add an island
Oh.
onto it. So this is an interesting story. This year, one of the things that we do for Alias is anybody flying into Trinidad and Tobago, whether it's a guest or just anybody who just wants to attend the convention, they fly in. We give you tours of the island, and some of the tours include photo shoots on site at different locations in the island. Like we
Stop it
have a
right
whole
now.
package. Yeah, I have a
Oh,
whole package with
girl.
everything. It's a whole week long thing, and we take you to different places, and you could choose your cosplays and come and do your different things. I'll send you some pictures of like the people who came this year.
Please
Um,
do.
and we went to a place called Gaspery Caves. It's like a underground grotto with like stalactites
Ooh.
and caves and the seawater coming in with a pool and stuff. It's very, very cool. We went there, and what was funny was so who was on the trip was the voice actors, so they're from the US, and then we had people for the Caribbean Cosplay Championship, so we had some like from the Bahamas and stuff like that. They are so annoyed with me every single time because the Bahamas is flat, right? So Trinidad has actual mountains. We have actual hills.
Right.
And whenever we have to go anywhere, you do have to walk up a hill. And they're like, why? Why are we walking up hills? And then the other thing is, the Bahamas and these other islands, they're volcanic, right? Because they came out of the ocean. They don't have anacondas. They don't have caimans. They don't have those things. Unfortunately for them, we do. So we come out the caves and there's this sign, right? And the sign says, these are the type of animals that you'll find on this island, because the caves are like, you have Trinidad and you have these small little islands around the big
Right.
island, and you can go to different ones, right? So it's like on this island you can find um oh god, what is it, a python or whatever, and they're like, a python, and I'm like, you'll never, what are the odds, you'll never see that. You know what they saw?
Oh my god, a motherfucking python.
A python, child, just rolling around on the ground. I was like, because we're walking out, and David Vincent, the voice of Grimjaw and Nanami, he's like, there's a snake. I was like, what, a snake? And I come and I'm like, of course, the one time y'all come, y'all see a freaking python.
Oh my
I mean,
god.
it was nothing was gonna happen to them. The python was basically trying to get away from us,
Okay, sure.
right? Yeah, it was fine. But I just thought that was really, really funny. And they were like, "Yeah, we like Trinidad, but no,
Oh my god,
no,
there's too
this is
much
too much
nature.
wildlife."
There's too much
Yeah,
wildlife, too much nature. Call it the
this is
Australia of the Caribbean, basically.
100%. Have you met the twins? Pros and cons. They cuss me out as well too. They're like, "We hate touching grass, but we will do this for you. We will do this for
That
you."
is
Yeah,
so
and I was
funny.
like, "But you want to take a picture in front of a waterfall, right? So you're gonna
Well, it's
have
like,
to."
yes.
You're right. So this is part of the process. A waterfall is in mountains, so you're gonna have to hike a little bit.
Time to
So
fight some
yeah,
snakes. No.
yeah.
Okay,
But
we have to talk about
yes,
Arcane. We have to talk about League of Legends and Riot
yes,
and you making Ambessa and cosplaying Ambessa for Riot. I need to
yes,
understand, how did this we'd start from the beginning. How did they reach
yeah.
out and what was your reaction? Because I need to understand, because this happened, like, I feel like it happened pretty fast.
Yeah. So the thing is, I feel like it was a gradual thing, because a couple people from Riot have followed me over the like years,
Okay.
right? And Riot has shared my work before. So one of the first things, well, the one thing that they shared for me was my Melmadada cosplay. So I think that's how I got on their radar anyway. So I did Melmadada, and I think at the time, I mean, even now, if you Google Melmadada, I think my face is.
The face comes up, the
Yeah,
IRL.
no, it's really annoying sometimes because I'm trying to get like reference pictures, and I'm like,
I don't want to see me.
I don't want to see me. So I think that's how I got on their radar. I would have done like a little music video thing with her and stuff, and a couple rioters and things, I guess, saw that. And I think from there I was kind of like on their radar for a bit with that. They sent me a couple things, like some PR stuff.
Hmm.
I would have like for different things for the game. They've sent me stuff over the time, so I feel like it was a gradual.
Wasn't there like a makeup, like Fenty did like a makeup thing?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I would have gotten like a bundle. I don't do you play? Do you play? Do you play?
Do I
Do
play
you
League
play?
of Legends?
Yeah, are you familiar with like the
Do I look
games?
like I
No?
play League of Legends? No, I'm kidding.
Listen, I don't want to
I'm
judge.
kidding. I've watched the show and I finished both seasons and I
Okay, good.
played League of Legends in like 10 years ago and I was so fucking
Fine.
horrible at it.
That's enough.
Yeah.
That's enough. I understand. But yeah, they sent me a PR package for another one of their game things
Okay.
before, and then they sent me the Fenty thing, and then they involved me as well in, they had a rollout for the promotion of Arcane, actually season 2, and they had a whole paint the town blue
Mm-hmm.
thing, with cosplayers from around the world. So I was also involved in that, and I went on Twitter and I was like, I am going to cosplay Ambessa. So if anybody has any like like if they found any concept art or anything online, send it to me. I'm going to do Ambessa.
Mm-hmm.
And people from Riot saw it and was like, "Oh, you're going to do Ambessa? You want to get some references?" I was
Oh
like,
my god.
"Yes." Yes. So they sent me the references before the show came out, but at that point in time, it wasn't to get me to come do it. They just was like, they saw that I was making the costume and they wanted to like help out somebody making the costume.
Sure.
So I signed the NDA and I got all this stuff or whatever. And then after that, they were like, "Hey, so I have something to send you via email." I was like, "Oh, okay." I'm thinking it's more
More
it's
references or
more like,
more, yeah.
art, more references. And I was like, "Hi, we'd like to invite you." Da 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 da. I was like, I lost my mind because I genuinely was not expecting it, like, at all. And it was so interesting for me because one of my dreams actually was to create a costume for like a major gaming company.
Mm-hmm.
And I love Riot. I love it. So I didn't think it would have happened for Riot Games. I thought, maybe a Bethesda.
Not that. Oh my god.
you know, a little Blizzard game, maybe. I don't know. But to like right off the bat, I lost my ever living mind. And my brother is like a huge League of Legends. Like he plays League of Legends every
Oh,
single
he
day.
must have lost his
And I
fucking
ran.
mind.
Listen, lost it. And they even flew out a +1 for me to help me like get ready and everything. Riot Games did what conventions need to be doing. Like, hands down, period. They treated us so well. Like, it was our whole red carpet thing. The hotel was amazing.
Wait, so was this in
Like,
LA? This was LA,
yeah,
right?
yeah, yeah. It was
And
in LA.
where was the premiere? It was the premiere, correct?
Yeah. No,
Of Arcane?
this was the finale.
The finale
So
of Arcane.
yeah.
Okay.
And that was the thing because they had the premiere and they had like a couple, cosplayers at the premiere, and I was like, "Oh, that's so cool. Damn. I would love to go to like a premiere." Oh, I remember at the time thinking like, "Oh, that's so cool, man. That's so awesome." Da, da, da. Not thinking literally 2 weeks later that was going to be me. So yeah, it was, I forgot what the name of the place was, but it was like this huge theater.
It wasn't the Chinese
Um,
theater, was it? That's the only one I know of.
no,
That's the
no,
only
no,
one I
no.
know. That's the only one I
No,
know.
no, it wasn't. It was like a, oh god, I probably should know the name, but it was like it was a huge theater, and it was open to, like, they had sold tickets to the public for it as well.
Okay.
And it was kind of like, imagine like an Arcane con, really.
Okay.
So yeah, so before the finale, because remember the finale is like three. It was like 3 episodes, 3 episodes, 3 episodes. So before showing us the final 3 episodes, they had like different installations and different, things going on the floor, and they wanted cosplayers to interact with people and to work the show and that kind of thing, be on the red carpet, blah 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 blah. And that's where I was, and I was so nervous. Like, listen, I killed myself making that costume because one of my biggest, I guess, strengths and personality flaws all at once is I'm a perfectionist. And what happened was, when I thought I was just making it for myself, I made I don't know if I have it anywhere close. I started making the mask and stuff, but I was making it out of like a metallic foil so that it would look like real metal and stuff.
Okay.
And then I was like, I don't know if I like how this looks. I'm going to start over from scratch. So they literally said that to me, and I made that whole thing from scratch in less than 10 days.
Well, that's the thing, because they sent you the ask to
Yes.
cosplay at the finale of the season, and because you just said like they had the premiere, you were not there. Oh, I wish I was there. And then
Yeah.
between then, because the episodes released like, what did they release, 3 episodes every week?
Yes.
So you
Yes.
literally had like 2 weeks from receiving that email about
Mhm.
to get the
Mhm.
costume done and
Mhm.
then you flew there.
Yeah, so it was I counted because we had to count the days because my friend was like, first of all, my brother was like, I think you should ditch the coat, right? And you should just simplify this. And I was like, this is Riot Games. I don't know when I'm gonna get it. Like I
You're
was
like,
like,
this is a once in a lifetime. I have to
yes,
literally like kill
I
myself for this.
I have to. Like I don't know how I'm gonna do it. And then I messaged my friend Dwayne, and I was like, listen, how much do I have to pay you to come by my house every evening and help me cut foam?
And sweatshop this with me.
And sweat, yeah, how much? Like what do we have to do, sir? Like what needs to happen? Because I was not about to put something on or do something where I felt I could have done better. Because
Right.
even though other people would have probably been okay with it, I wouldn't have been okay with it.
Mm-hmm.
And also, I'm not in the gym. Have you seen Ambassa? I'm not going out there showing off my scrawny arms.
Like we
Like,
need to
I'm not
cover
doing
up.
that. We need a coat, honey. We need a coat. So as soon as I saw that version of her in the episode, I was like, yes, yes, God. Yes, Sheila. Yes, Janice.
Like
That
that
is
one.
exactly what I'm that one. And yeah, I rallied, put it all together. I finished it the day I was supposed to fly out, quite
Oh
frankly.
my god.
Um, yeah, and we were working on it in the hotel room. So little finishing things, the rigging was what we
Yeah.
were working on the last minute, like how everything was gonna lay
Attach
down
and
and attach and whatever. And luckily, because I had the plus one, he was helping me like fix it. So if anything slipped, because we didn't get to rig it perfectly,
oh, you
because
could
we
just like fix it
literally,
back on your like yeah.
yeah, so that's what he was helping me with, like on the day. um I forgot like the air something for the earrings or something, and he was like, I'm gonna stay back and finish it because they were offering us a tour of
Of
Riot
Riot.
HQ. So I was like, I want to go. And he was like, yeah, but I can't, I don't think, first of all, I don't play Riot. I don't play any of the Riot games. So I don't care. Right? I'm just here to help you. So he stayed back in the room to finish the earrings. And I was able to go off to the tour because right after the tour, I had to come back and get ready to go to the finale and dress and do all that whole thing.
Oh my god.
Yeah, and thank God I'm like 5'8", right? Because in the boots I'm like over a little over 6 foot, and that was a big deal for me because I was like, I don't want to look like small Bessa, like, like, like I want to be physically imposing. God damn it.
Right, right.
Yeah, so I was like, I need a cloak, I need the shoes, I need all these things, da 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 da. And it was so funny. We were having conversations. We're like, what is the average height of an American? Yeah, I think I'll be good.
Like you were doing, oh my god, like
We were
literally
doing
like
maths.
oh my god.
We were doing maths up in here, and I was tall. I was definitely tall by comparison to other people, and I was like, oh, okay, good. And these were just things for me. I know they weren't important in
Right.
the, but this was just stuff for me because I was like, no, I want to embody the character. I want to give that imposing energy. I want to be super tall. Blah 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 blah. So yeah, it was a lot. I was not sleeping. I was not eating. And I keep saying I'm never gonna do this again. Watch me do it again.
Well, that's like unfortunately, that's like the nature of some of these commission opportunities. Like I feel like
Yeah.
from most people I've talked to that have gotten commissions from game companies or just
Hmm.
companies in general, they don't have a good grasp of how long it takes to make anything
Yes.
because they don't make things. So
Yeah.
they will commission someone to make a costume. I think the most amount of time I've ever heard them give anyone was like maybe 4 weeks. And that's like
Oh, that's
the
a lot of time.
most. That's the
That's a lot of time.
most. I feel like most of the
But
time it's like two.
here's the amazing thing about this. They told me if they were giving me two opportunities. They were like, we would like you to come as ambassador, but you could also just come and just attend.
Oh.
Yeah. Like they were not like, you have to do this. They were like, we would love for you to do it, but if you just want to come, that's fine. We're still gonna fly you out and you could still come. Right. And I was like,
That is so awesome.
of course I'm going to kill myself and do this, you know that.
Right, of course
But
I'm going to. I'm a cosplayer. It's in my blood.
I'm a cosplayer. Like, I mean, there's only one answer here. But yeah, that was like one of the most amazing opportunities I've ever had in my entire cosplay career. And it was something that I really needed at that point in time because I was going through that whole self doubt process with
Mm,
myself. And like, I'm doing cosplay, or not necessarily cosplay, but I'm creating costumes and doing this thing full time now. I'm probably the only person in the whole Caribbean that is a professional cosplayer and just like there's just doing this. So there's no roadmap for me. I have to figure it out as I go, and I take opportunities as I get them.
mhm.
And what I've been doing, which is bad, and people have talked, like Yaya has talked to me, everybody has talked to me, and I know it's bad, but I can't help doubting myself sometimes. And I was actually at a point where I'm like, you know what, maybe I should just, go back to doing law, because it's not like if I'm unqualified, I could be doing other
Right.
things. And I would have a bit more job security. I wouldn't be worried about getting opportunities and da 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 da. And I wouldn't feel sometimes as like sometimes I do genuinely feel looked down on in the cosplay community. And even like sometimes you're judging with other people and some of the things they say to you, some of the little side comments, and they start making you feel like if you aren't on their level or you
Yeah,
aren't
like you're
worthy of
less
certain
than
things.
what they are
Yes.
because of, I mean,
Mm-hmm.
a lot of that, like, no tea, I mean, all tea, I guess, but it's like, it's like,
Guilty.
oh, well, you're just from some island. Like, what do you know?
Mm-hmm.
Like, oh, well, you just are out here doing whatever you're doing, but like, what are you
Mm-hmm.
giving? And it's
Mm-hmm.
like, I can totally I can totally see how even if people aren't saying that, the actions and the things that they
Yes.
do are very
That is it.
telling.
That is exactly what it is. Like I'm not gonna come out and be like, oh my god, this person said blah 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 blah. But I'm not dumb. Like people like they imply certain things, they do certain things, and you're just like, huh, okay, I see you. I see
Yeah.
you. And after a while, it kind of gets to you. And I'm just like, you know what? Maybe I should just keep this as a strictly hobby thing because I don't want my self worth to be like, I don't want to have to keep like having to build myself up and tell myself, no, you deserve this, or no, blah 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 blah, because it's tiring.
Right.
It's really really tiring. And one of the things that has continually happened for me is whenever I'm going through this, something happens that reminds me I'm that bitch, yo.
Yeah.
Like
No, exactly.
something happens. Like just when you feel like I don't want to do this anymore, it could be something. It doesn't even have to be this big riot thing. Sometimes it's just somebody walking up to your table and telling you like you inspired them to do something, or they saw you do this, and like it could be a really small thing. But I've always found that something happens that reminds me and kind of helps ground me as to why I do this. And, I need to silence the negative voices sometimes, because sometimes the loudest negative voice is my own.
Oh,
And I need
absolutely.
to silence that, and just focus on what I'm doing and not try to worry so much about like all these other things. Like it was so funny. I was having a conversation with some friends and I was like, yeah, I'm done for the year. I'm not flying anywhere. I'm staying home. I'm not going anywhere. No. And then literally 2 days later, yeah, so I'm gonna be in LA.
Right. Well, little do they know that literally we had scheduled this episode for like up
Yes.
2 months before this, and then that was literally the time when you're like, oh yeah, so
Yes.
I'm gonna be on a plane going to LA. I can't do this.
Yeah. But to be fair, we both forgot. So it
Oh
was
yeah,
fine.
yeah, yeah, yeah. Both a mess. Both a mess.
We were both a mess.
Trust.
So
Um
it was meant to be.
no, exactly. Do you think
Yeah.
that part of the I don't know how to put it. Like, I'm
Mm-hmm.
not because I'm afraid to say what I want to think. It's just I don't know how to words like
Mm-hmm.
expel this from my mouth.
Yeah.
Um, do you think that part of some of the self doubt comes from a degree of isolation? And I use that in quotes
Mm-hmm.
because obviously you said yourself the cosplay community in Trinidad has gone through eras of like building a community, people
Mm-hmm.
leaving it, washing it away, starting like
Mm-hmm.
babies. And like obviously a lot of us cosplayers in the US and other parts of the world, we all know you and we've met at
Mm-hmm.
conventions and we know what a badass bitch you are, but we can't come over, right? Like we can't
Oh,
work on stuff
yeah.
with you. Like we're not going to see
Yeah.
you at
Yeah.
conventions very often because you are largely reliant on conventions to bring you out to these places that are so far away. Do you
Yeah.
think that part of it is that you don't have as much of a like big community in person?
100%. That was something that I actually I spoke about like on my personal Facebook because I did polymanga this year. I competed in polymanga, and it's so hard to be working on a costume. You can't talk to a lot of people about it because, and a lot of people here, they won't, even if you're talking to them, they won't get it.
Hmm.
They don't understand the pressure that you're under. They don't, like, you're telling them something. It's like, oh, well, just don't do that. Just do this. And I'm like, you don't understand. That is not how this contest works. Like, I have to do this, da 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 da. And there's just nobody that is, I could consider a peer, you know, in cosplay here because I'm literally the only one doing stuff on this level. And I'm not saying not to come across as anything. It's just
No, but it's just
like
like at a certain
I'm
point,
the
the
only
experiences that
person.
you have, there's no one that you can relate to at that point because
Exactly.
it's just they don't have the experience. It's not like, oh, like right, wrong, or indifferent. It's just you. I'm going through things that
Hmm.
I'm looking for camaraderie or like a peer to help me through, or I'm looking for
Yes.
like someone to be my rock or someone that I can like reach out to
Hmm.
be here, and you just don't have that.
Exactly. No, and it's so hard. And then on top of that, and I mean, not to sound like negative, but there's a lot of clout chasing and a lot of just disingenuous people within the cosplay community on a whole.
Mhm.
And having been burnt by that, sometimes you just don't know who you could trust or who you could talk to. Like, I had a whole relationship with somebody for a year and something to find out that they were hiding, making costumes from me, and all. It's like, what? Like, what is going on? So after a while, you're just like, do I trust people? Do I not trust people? Do I do I continue doing this by myself? Like, even when I was preparing for the contest, it was so hard because I was trying to find people who are also crafting so that I could, I'm the type of person, I love sharing my work.
Mhm.
I don't like keeping secrets. I hate doing that. I do it if I have to, but I'm the type of person, like, as soon as I finish something and I like it, clicks, post. Look at that!
Yeah.
Look what I did! Like, I'm that kind of person, and I just didn't have people, especially this year, that I could share. I felt like I could share things with because not only do I want to share, I want to receive. So sometimes I'm sharing things with friends who are cosplayers, but they're burnt out and they're not making anything. So I feel like all my energy is just doing this, and I'm not getting
Right.
anything back. So sometimes it's really, really difficult because I feel very, you're right. If I feel very, very alone. And then when you do have these interactions and stuff with some people, they're not positive sometimes and they say some things. Like, I remember this year, somebody being like, yeah, I can teach you how to make a dress. And I was like,
The implications the implications of that statement are
I was
wild.
like, you want to teach me how to sew? Okay. Okay. So then I started doing more. And then here, and this is how I took that. I took that as, well, if you look at my profile, they saw the big green thing, they saw the carnival thing. Maybe they don't know that I actually did fashion design. Maybe they don't know that my mom was a seamstress. So maybe I need to start showcasing more, I took it like okay, I need to showcase more sewing.
Mm.
I started doing more sewing. Do you know what somebody said to me recently? Yeah, I'd like to see you do more armor.
Girl, I think the lesson here is that you
Yes.
can never please the peanut gallery.
Never.
It is like, and
Never.
what other
Mhm.
people think about you is none of your goddamn business.
100%. That is the thing. So it's like when but then you're getting all of this, you're getting these messages, right? And then you're also by yourself. After
Right.
a while, that just tends to like weigh on you, and you're like, am I doing the right thing? And what is a marker for success for somebody like me? Like, you know I've been cosplaying for 20 years. What should I have already accomplished? Like,
Mm.
I'm starting to think about things like, oh my god, what is my plan for 10 years down the line? And I start like spiraling.
Right.
And then, the universe is just like, calm down, relax, bitch. Like, you are worthy. Everything is gonna work out. Here, shut up, take this, just relax a little bit.
Right.
And I'm always cognizant of that, and I try to focus on, they say this all the time, like, to focus on the positive, because as much as there's negative stuff, there's a lot of positivity out there. And sometimes we tend to focus too much on the negative aspects of things, and we miss the really beautiful things that are occurring like right in front of us. And that's my personal thing to myself, that I need to just start focusing on the things that I know to be true, and that the things that I know um I'm here for, and not listen to the intrusive thoughts, you
Right.
know. But I'm definitely grateful for the opportunities that I have been given. I think about it sometimes and I'm like, if you told me any of this 2 years ago, 5 years
Oh,
ago,
it's
10 years
crazy.
ago, I would have been like, you are lying through your teeth. Like, I would never have imagined that this is where I would be, or this is what I would be doing. So,
Exactly. Well, and you
yeah.
think about
But
it
what,
too, it's like you think about cosplay too, and it's like I sometimes have those moments as well where it's like if I didn't do this thing, if as far
yeah.
as, like if I didn't do this thing, then I would never have met these people. I would never have done this next thing. Like I
Yes.
never would. Your life would be so different. And I think for a lot of us that have
Yes.
been cosplaying for so long, it's such a huge part of our identity at this point. It's not something that we
Yes.
can even separate ourselves from in a sense.
100%.
But I get what you mean. It's the feeling of self doubt, insecurity that
Mhm.
can always boil up at the end of the day. I think I find grounding myself in what I have achieved, and maybe even not from like not even from a perspective of, oh, I've guested here or I've won this, but just like the relationships.
Right.
I feel like for
Yes.
me, at the end of the day, are some of is like probably the most important thing I've gotten out of
100%.
cosplay at all. Like that
Yeah.
alone makes it so worth it.
Yeah. Like for me too, like one of the most eye-opening conversations I had this year was I ended up I guested at a convention. This is also wild to me. I guested in freaking Germany this year. That's crazy.
It's wild.
Yeah, so I was in Germany and then I flew to London, and that was the first time I was in London since I graduated back in the day. And I met up with some friends, and they were like, "Yeah, we follow you. We see your stuff, and you're doing this cosplay." These are lawyers, bankers, like in in London, right?
That's
And they're
unhinged.
because that's who I went to school with.
Right,
That's what I
right.
went to school for, right? So you have people who are, like investment bankers and all these things, and you're like, yeah, 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 I follow your cosplay stuff. That's so cool. Blah 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 blah. And that blew my head off because I would have thought that to them it would have been silly what
Mm.
I was doing. Like they would have been like, haha, but they were like, no, 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 no. Next time, and they were like, wait, people pay you to come to a convention and dress up? What? I was like, yeah, that's why I'm here. They pay. I was like, what? They were like losing their minds. And then they were like, okay, next time I'm coming. I'm coming as your plus one. Like, I'm coming. I'm coming. I was like, what do you mean? It's like, I don't care. I'm paying for my ticket. I'm going to come as your plus one. I want to go to a convention. I want to see what it's about. Like, I have people who work in the AG's office here, like the Attorney General's office, and they're coming to ask me, they're like, I'm not happy with my job. You're out here doing something that you genuinely love. Like, can you give me advice on how to go about doing that? And that stood out to me because here I am thinking, well, shit, maybe I should go back to law. Maybe I should do this thing that is a lot more conventional, that is a lot more accepted, that has all of this job security, that is more respected. And I talking to people who have that, and they are like, this is not fun, sis. Like, life is hard out here. Like, I only have one life to live. I want to live it doing something that I genuinely enjoy. And it's not this, like, I get up at unseen hours and I go to work and I don't feel fulfilled. And I have conversations with people, and it just makes me like understand and realize that I'm still to some degree a slave to societal perceptions, even though I've broken that mold myself.
Right.
But I still am a slave to it, even in my mind, because them saying that to me, I'm like, what do you mean? You're out here with this dream job, with this fancy car, with all these things. And no, that's not what it's like. So, anybody watching this, and in that moment of self doubt and stuff, I will always tell people, do what makes you genuinely happy, because you don't want 5, 10 years, 20 years down the line, you're regretting not taking that offer or not taking that chance or not doing this thing. You only have one life to live. I mean, unless you believe in reincarnation, and you might be reincarnated as a lizard. So I'm just saying.
A lizard that can't use a sewing machine.
Right, right. on the wall of somebody's house watching somebody sew. So, just take that chance and just do whatever you have to do, man, and just try to be as happy as possible. And I fully believe that if you are happy, people around you will feel that energy and be happy as well. Like
I
whatever
agree.
energy you have, I think it's infectious. And I don't like being around negative people. Nobody likes being around negative people. You know what I mean? So if you're happy, people around you are going to be happy, and you're going to find that you're going to attract more people like that as well to you.
Exactly. I literally couldn't put it better. Oh my God. Thank you so much for being with me on this evening. I appreciate you so much for participating in this podcast, for talking with me, for sharing your Caribbean experiences, your world experiences. No, honestly, like I'm so happy. And like honestly, like I said, at the end of the day, this isn't even about a podcast. This is more of an opportunity for me to connect with my friends that are all over the fucking place that I don't get to see. And so no, I
I
appreciate
think
you
it's
so
so
much.
good. Like, honestly, a podcast is something I look up to people who do this kind of thing, because it takes so much like planning and effort and energy, So, like, I see you, and keep doing it. I've watched all of your episodes, like, so
While
keep
crunching
doing
for
it,
your
keep doing the
crunching and
thing.
Bessa out.
Yes, yes. You just press play. Last night I actually fell asleep with the one with you and Matthew Berry.
Oh yeah, yeah.
Yeah, that was in my ear, and I fell asleep. I woke up, I was like, whoa, shit.
That is so
so
funny.
so yeah, honestly, like, definitely keep doing it. I feel like we need a lot more content as well, like this in the cosplay community, where it's just like real, and people just having real conversations that you could kind of relate to. So
Yeah.
I love this for you. Keep this up. I'm very excited for you doing this, and I hope that we could get to meet again.
I know. And we'll make it happen,
Some
bitch. It'll
point.
happen.
Yeah,
Okay, I'm gonna do the outro and then come to you at the
yeah,
end. All right,
yeah,
cool.
yeah.
Thank you for joining another episode of the Cosplay Crunch. Skipping the part where I say ask a question because my questions are building. And I actually had questions for this episode. And then I realized we hit 2 fucking hours and I decided we cannot do the questions. So I will actually try. Maybe we'll do a bonus episode after the season's
Yeah, yeah,
over. And whoever I can
yeah.
like pull back in to ask questions, we'll do that. But if you want to ask a question for the bank, email
Yeah.
cosplaycrunchpod@gmail.com. Rate us on your podcasting app of choice. It helps the show grow and gets us to new listeners and new cosplay lovers. You can also follow us on Instagram at the Cosplay Crunch Podcast for latest news and announcements, and on YouTube at Cosplay Crunch Podcast for the visual format for all of the beauty. You can see Panterona's cosplays hanging behind her and her brother industrial sewing machine. And at
Not clocking my
cosplaycrunch.com.
machine.
Yes. Panterona Cosplay, where can we find you online? And do you have any parting words for our listeners?
You can find me on I'm Panterona on mostly anything. I'm even on that clock app begrudgingly. But yeah, Panterona Cosplay on everything. My parting words to everybody, as I keep saying, be the light in this community, because I think sometimes there's like a lot of darkness, and always try to, focus, as I said, on positivity and stuff in your life, and you're going to reap the rewards of that. And whenever you feel like you aren't, worth it, like me, or you're having that imposter syndrome or whatever it is, just know that there are people out there that appreciate you, that love you, and that want to see you grow and want to see you shine. So yeah.
That's so perfect. Oh my God. All right. Until next episode, which I think is gonna be the finale episode. We'll see. We will see you next time. Goodbye. The Cosplay Crunch podcast is hosted by Savage Cosplay, with post-production also by Savage Cosplay. Original theme music by Katie Fairbanks. Logo and graphic design by Owl and Coffee.